to the January January meetup. I feel very flustered today, even more so than normal. We'll push on. Yeah, thanks, man. There was a MicroPython game release, or at least a game that used a lot of MicroPython to implement it. So Tibor is the name of the game. It's Tibor, the Tale of a Kind Vampire, which looks pretty cool. I've got it on my iPhone. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but yeah, written by Krasimir SPS, and I'm sure I've massacred your name there. I'm sorry, Krasimir. The really good thing about this is he's written up some of the difficulties he had with this. There's a MicroPython forum post on this, on some of the issues he had to be concerned with, like with being careful with GC collects and things like that. So the post there is actually really, really great. So I'm looking forward. I haven't even played it yet, but I'll pass the phone around tonight. We can have a bit of a play. The artwork itself just looks great. Cool. FOSDEM's on, if not right now, pretty soon. I can't remember when exactly it's falling, but John Norby is giving a couple of talks. John's the author of the EM Learn package, which is a really good machine learning package for MicroPython. And he's giving a talk about MicroPython seemingly in general, but also about using EM Learn for doing machine learning on low-power devices. So I only just got these links today. I haven't had a chance to absorb it all. Yeah, good luck, John, with those talks. And speaking of John, he's also created an example to use MicroPython on his toothbrush. So he's got this appendage that he sits on his toothbrush, and it detects when movement's occurring and tells him when he's done his 2 minutes of toothbrushing. So and gives him a green light. So there is a video on that. Yes. Looks like he's playing a flute, but no, it's actually a toothbrush.
Yeah, you should brush your teeth for at least 2 minutes.
And I might stop that there because it looks like it's going to pause anyway. I'll let you all watch that in your own time. But
you could count slowly up to 120 seconds, or you could use this gadget that I created.
I'll stop it there. You get the idea.
2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a fun little video. Good work, John. Right, so my new hardware, my favorite segment. I should say I've got to be blind. I don't know if I've explained this before, but over my rear veranda, there's a blind that can be electrically wound down and wound up. It's almost vertical, and the problem with that, it's fantastic. It blocks a lot of sunlight, keeps the house cool in summer. The problem with it is that a few times I've left it out when a storm's come through, and it just fills with rain. And it's 6 meters by 3 meters, and you'll be shocked at how heavy that water can get. It's not doing good things for the material. So I want to use MicroPython to detect when it's raining, and even detect nighttime, like what time it is, and just retract it for me. So I've gotten this rain sensor to do that. I'm excited to play with this one. It's only come in recently, but these are really cool. Same principle as the way your car works, which I didn't know, but it basically bounces like an infrared light within the confines of the lens or windscreen, and then when rain falls on it, that actually causes the light to refract, and you can detect the fact that more or less light is being detected, so you can infer that rain's occurred. I don't really care. It gives me a UART connection that says it's raining or not, but I thought it was cool. You can see all this cool little picture here now. That'll be handy. I've also got a rain tipping bucket. I was going to be excited with all this rain stuff, actually. So can't see myself there. This is a rain tipping bucket. There's a comment, was a rain tipping bucket. And so you can see when you open it up, there's just a little tipper here. And so the way it works, if you look on the top, there's a little triangular attachment for the water. And so it gets guided into the center and drips on one side. And then when it tips, it drips on the other side, and it tips, and so on and so forth. And the water just falls out through the bottom. You can see there's some holes here. So no water gets caught inside it. You just need to count the number of times that it's tipped and then calibrate how much water that it amounts to, and then you can tell how much rain has fallen. And so you can buy one of these from DF Robot. I think I got mine through maybe just direct from DF Robot. They actually have a little Hall effect sensor in here, and there's a little magnet on the side of the tipper, so it makes it really easy to do all of that. They've got an I2C device on the other end, which if I pull this and hopefully don't break everything. So there's an I2C, there's a device here which gives you an I2C connection on one side and plugs into the device on the other. It's a really neat way to do water rainfall measurement. It doesn't. It just melts and falls through. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. But it turns out that was the first purchase I made trying to detect rain, but it takes too long. It's really accurate for larger amounts of water. This thing should detect things really quickly. So I'll report back over the next couple of months and keep you posted as to how this project goes. Well, maybe. I know what we're like. Some of the M5 stuff came in. I think we talked about this one before. The Atom range is a favorite of mine. They're really small little micros. This one's got a little display on it. Has an ESP32S3 in it. There's also the little cams. These are really cute. We'll pass this around later. I haven't had a chance to open this one yet. Tiny little camera. They also offer, we covered this last month, the month before, but they also offer a higher res camera, which is a bit thicker as well. So if that's of interest to you, they are available. But by the way, they're not just the camera, they've got a micro in there as well. So yeah, it's a neat little device. Also, Ollie has already stolen it, but the joystick, there's an analog joystick, which again, you get an I2C on the outside world. The analog joystick. I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for, but yeah.
There'll be a MicroPython library for it in 3 hours. Okay,
so by the end of the evening, we're hoping to have a MicroPython library we can all download and use. That'll be MIP installable, right?
Sure.
Yes. Great. I also got a couple more Xiaos. These are the tiny little things from Seed Studio. Mostly because I'm hoping at some stage to have a little test bench of Xiaos. They've got about 7 or 8 different models now, and that'll be really useful to combine with the hardware and the loop testing that Damien and everyone's been working on. Actually, there's been a few people, but Hans and Damien, of course, in particular. But yeah, plugging them in a small little package seems like a useful thing to do. I did get a couple of glow bits. These are really cute if you're looking for LEDs in fun shapes. Got a stick one and one of these rainbowy ones. I got a Furnace power supply. This thing is pretty amazing. I think it's a 30-volt power supply, but it also does current limiting. Kind of replaces the big brick power supply that I've got at home. So if you're looking for a power supply, I'll put a link in this before I publish it. But yeah, Furnace one. Beautiful LCD screen on the front that isn't powered up at the moment, but yeah, you can control how much voltage you want out of it. Really useful for doing your microcontroller stuff. And finally, I got these arrived literally today. The CYDs, or the cheap yellow displays, is their official nickname. Ryan Locke, UK developer, nicknamed them that a while ago because he saw these selling on AliExpress for, I think they were $15 or something at the time. They're not much more than that now. It's hard to get open. But they're basically just an ESP32, an original ESP32 with a really 9341 display, 320 by 240 from memory. The cheap ones are resistive, and they've got SD card on the back. They come with a little stylus. You can pay a little bit extra to get a cheap yellow display, which has capacitive touch and a slightly bigger display and so on. So they've gotten really popular. The reason I bought one is because we're doing LVGL work with MicroPython, and this would probably be the low end LVGL target. So yeah, there you go. If you want one of those, I'll provide links at some point. Fancier stuff is the Pymarini Presto was announced and released. Got one on the way, but it hasn't arrived yet. Try and get to it. Can't see it at the moment, but the Presto is a beautiful looking display. It's a 480 by 480 4-inch display, powered by the RP2350. It's got bags of flash and why is that? Sorry, give me a sec. Sorry, I'm just wrestling with Zoom at the moment. There we go. It's got an aluminium stand, so it's always standing. It looks fantastic. It's a really beautiful looking display. They've also got the Wi-Fi chip on there. That's the Raspberry Pi module, just the standard Wi-Fi module. Can't remember how much RAM and flash, but it's quite a lot. I'm looking forward to getting one. 32 gig micro SD card. It comes with that if you buy the starter kit. 16 meg of flash, 8 meg of PS RAM. Now the PS RAM, I don't think we're supporting that yet on MicroPython Day. Is that still the truth?
Yeah, it's nearly finished. I think Pomeroni is just tidying it up.
Yeah, cool. Okay, but it'll be ready soon.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. I know Phil Howard's been working on it quite a lot. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the other thing, this thing has backlighting as well. It's got like 7 LEDs on the rear of it, and you can just see them there. And so they do. I'm not sure what the technique's called, but you're color spraying on the back, which it can look really cool. Anyway, that's the first story. What else we got? STM have a couple of big announcements that I haven't really gotten my head around yet, but the N6 is the first one. This has been sort of in the works for a while. Again, sorry, I haven't got all the links and pictures, but N6 is their micro they've dropped in to do machine learning on a micro, and it's pretty powerful for the micro level stuff. It's really interesting. And the ST67, like this is such a mouthful. The 67WX W611M1 is their first chip that has Wi-Fi built in, and this is due to a partnership with Qualcomm. And so because we use STMs a lot in the industry, and MicroPython has great support for it, it'll be an interesting one to see how that goes. So, yeah. ESP32P4s are starting to come on the market apart from Espressifs. And so Waveshare and Olimex have both got relatively cheap ones. I think the Olimex one's about 20 US. I think they're both about in that price range. So if you're looking for a really powerful dual core RISC Espressif device, they are starting to hit the market. Speaking of Olimex, they've got their Pico 2 XLs, which are pretty nice. Let's have a look at those. We can get paste in the links just for. So you can see this is just an RP2350, but they've broken out all of the GPIO and they've offered it in both the smaller package as well as the larger one. So you can get all the GPIOs broken out. A neat little board. Unfortunately, shipping is pretty expensive from Olimex to Australia. So if anyone sorts that out somehow, please let me know. N5 Stack have a new e-ink device, which looks really quite sweet. I haven't bought one. Trying not to buy everything. Come on. But it is a very nice looking little device. I can't remember the resolution, but it was relatively high. 540 by 960, 16 level grayscale, touch sensitive. It's got all the bells and whistles, and 60 US. So, quite neat. We also got an LLM 630, which is a device to do again machine learning on a compute kit. I won't show you that one, but if you're interested in machine learning stuff, it's worth having a look at. Very small device, quite powerful. Seed Studio also announced very recently, they got news, unfortunately after I placed the order, they got new Xiaos coming out, and they've got the same form factor, but they've added extra pins if you want to use it as a CAS-led device. So exactly the same device, but added extra GPIOs in between the pins. So castellations where you want to solder down a PCB board onto another PCB board. Yeah, so that's quite neat if you want to access a few more pins than the Xiaos have access to. They've done that for 3 devices at the moment, the S3, the ESP32 S3, and their 2 NRF devices. But it looks like they'll be rolling it out for all of their Xiaos in the future. It would be the way you'd bet anyway. Quite neat, exactly the same pricing as well. So I think they're in the range of $10, 10 US. So a cheap way to get into that. But this link works. They've also got an e-paper board. You also got this little board so that you can plug in any of the Xiaos, and they're selling e-ink devices separately. So you can plug in an e-ink device to this thing. It's quite a neat little solution. So if that's of interest to you, take a look at that. Really cheap, like $5 little adapter board basically for any of the Xiaos. Other news. Oh yeah, Mike on Blue Sky. Let's get that rolling. So you might remember I talked about Mike Bell. He does a lot of really interesting work. He had submitted to the Tiny Tape Out a RISC-V that he had designed himself. So he's got this little RISC-V processor running on the Tiny Tape Out device, and now it's running MicroPython, which is pretty cool. And he implemented SPI so he could get that working. And then he added it with hardware support, so it was a lot faster. Okay, it was a bit faster. It's very small RISC-V devices. They don't have a lot of gates on these Tiny Tape Outs. If you don't know what Tiny Tape Outs is, come talk to me afterwards if you're interested in doing your own gate level designs. And he also took my Max 7219 library and got that working as well. So just to prove that you could actually get a MicroPython library running on this thing really simply and really easily. So that was pretty cool. Pretty chuffed to see all that running. Arduino have announced that they've added better package support for their MicroPython editor. So you might remember they've got Arduino Lab for MicroPython, so you can do your MicroPython in an Arduino style IDE. For me, the Arduino IDE is not great anyway, so I don't know why people like this, but that's each to their own, right? And they've also added package installation so that you can do you can just sort of click on packages and install them, which is a big advantage of the Arduino IDE. They do have a lot of packages that are easily installable. So they've done the same sort of treatment for MicroPython. For me, this is a little bit frustrating as well, because they could have kind of reached out to the MicroPython project and added this so that any project could add these. But look, if you're in the Arduino world, this is probably a good thing. Even if you're in the Arduino MicroPython world, which is a weird combination. Brian, who does the Tulip, which I do have the Tulip here. Tulip's a wonderful little device that is running MicroPython, uses LVGL, and also does a lot of synthesizer work. So on the Tulip, it's powered by the Amy synthesizer, which is a C library that Brian's written that has MicroPython bindings and is really quite powerful and can manipulate sound in some really interesting ways. One of the things they did for the Amy library was to really improve its synthesis. And Brian has published this document on how they've done that, like what techniques they use. And it's all as a Jupyter notebook, so you can actually go through it and execute some of this stuff. And he's got some really excellent graphics and just a wonderful explanation of some of the details about synthesizer work. And you now have access to that in Tulip. It's pretty cool. You can go and make a OpenMV motorized microscope. I don't necessarily play this, but I just wanted to show that that's the sort of screenshot. This quick video shows like how they've taken a 3D print design from some university and extended it a little bit, added OpenMV to do the image capture, added a lens to the microscope level sort of zoom, and then added a couple of motors that can all be powered electrically. So, and then houses on this quite robust 3D print. It's yeah, pretty interesting. So if that's in your wheelhouse, go check it out. I don't know who Fizzband99 is, but they've released a Sunfish. Sunfish is one of those chess engines, but they've released a port of that for the NumWorks calculator. You might remember we covered this ages ago. The NumWorks calculator has MicroPython built into it, so you can actually play chess with Sunfish on the NumWorks calculator, which is pretty cool. This is basically all MicroPython work. So the other thing that immediately struck me with this is that the engine is actually relatively separate from the rendering. It uses the NumWorks APIs to do the rendering on the screen, but the engine is quite separate. So it'd be pretty cool to take that and make this work on any MicroPython device. Like you could do it so you could play chess in the REPL by using like the Unicode symbols. If you haven't seen those, there's a Unicode symbol for chess. You can see that you've got all the. Oh, I didn't realize it was open. All the Unicode symbols are available. And so you could render that at the REPL, and that would be pretty cool. Or if you wanted to, you could also render it to a frame buff. But the engine to actually play chess is there and ready to be used. Moving on, Bhavesh Kakwani has returned. He's been away for a while doing other stuff, but he's got a great tutorial on how to install MicroPython on ESP32. As usual, it's really well illustrated and very clear, so that was nice. There's a document on how to read and write CSV files, particularly for the Raspberry Pi Picos, but there's actually nothing specific to the Picos in that. Just happened to be what they were using. Go check that out if that's interesting. There's a radar project done by Sebastiano Melita. Presumably, I think it's for an Italian university. They've used a radar, a light sensor device, and MicroPython to produce this live image of stuff that appears in the radar, which is pretty cool. And the final thought that I had was around a Kickstarter that was doing the rounds. Which is that? Right. Yeah, I can't see it on the screen. Sorry, let's get there. So this Kickstarter was for a bendy version of the RP2040. So if you needed to put the RP2040 in a weird space or something, this project's for you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand it though, because if you're going to solder in the headers, I'm assuming it's going to become a lot less flexy really quickly.
Not if you just use the pins and you solder them in.
Possibly, yeah.
Well, like you might only need a couple.
Yeah.
Been did it at 40. Yeah.
Anyway, I had this as the final thought because I can't figure out what to do with this, but it was kind of interesting.
I really don't put the film.
There you go.
Not for any
Had pins
reason.
stick out.
Anyway, the flexi board. And that was it. And that was the same image as last month because I've been lazy and haven't created a new one. So that's it. Sorry, it was a bit haphazard this month, or even more than normal.
Oh, I like your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
No worries. Any questions or things I forgot? Mistakes I made? No?
Find them out later.
Stuart, I didn't get to. I should have. I neglected to include your performance test too, but that was pretty cool.
No problem. No problem. I'm glad to see other people picked up on it and made their own versions. So that was cool.
Yeah. So Scruss has been videoing like the original Pico versus the Pico 2 to update an LCD screen. So you can sort of see that the new one's almost twice as fast in that test. So yeah, and there's other people that are sort of starting to optimize it now and thinking about how you can improve things, which is great.